And I am currently working on XRP holders amicus brief that'll be filed within a week. All the papers will be done and in front of the judge by, I think it's November 15th. And so at that moment, all papers are in. There's always a chance that some other amicus shows up. I don't know, but usually not. And we're just then in standstill of one of two things to happen. Either a settlement or the judge comes down with a ruling. Now, unfortunately, as you can imagine, 2 years of litigation, each brief is like 80 pages. And so there's like 5 of them. There's thousands and thousands of exhibits and deposition testimony and expert reports, all that stuff. No judge is going to be able to turn that around in a matter of a couple months. It's just not going to happen. And so the earliest, in my opinion, the very earliest is the end of March. I think it's much more likely that we see a result ruling from her in late April or May, unless there is a settlement. And a settlement could happen anytime.
When, not if, the petrodollar system begins to crumble, the dollar will begin its death spiral. Right now, America has a permission slip to print all the dollars that it wants to print. Why? Because the world needs dollars to buy oil. It's that simple. So the Fed just prints away, knowing that the global demand for US dollars and for US debt should remain strong enough to prevent hyperinflation. However, when OPEC and the other major global oil players decide to pull the plug and finally denominate their oil sales in another currency other than the dollar, the artificial demand for the dollar will decrease. The US will be stuck holding a lot of worthless paper dollars that no one needs anymore, which will ultimately lead to massive inflationary pressures on the US economy. Don't think that this won't happen. Foreign governments are acutely aware of America's economic problems. Knowing this, many of them are biding their time by actively looking for alternatives to the US dollar-denominated assets for investment purposes. In the months and years ahead, other global currencies will be strong competitors for these same global investment dollars. When the petrodollar system collapses, it will lead to astronomical interest rates and the end of the US dollar. So with all of that in context, consider this week's report by the New York Times about China and Russia moving away from the dollar. According to the report, the two countries opened direct trading between the Chinese yuan currency and the Russian ruble, thus allowing them to completely avoid the US dollar in their bilateral trade. Among their imports and exports that will avoid the use of dollars? Oil. Friends, Russia and China are pioneering a move away from the US dollar. The collapse of the dollar is coming, but it's not here yet. So now to answer my earlier question on when the dollar will collapse. The dollar will completely collapse when the petrodollar system collapses. When will that happen? No one knows for sure.
What's up, guys? Today I have interesting information on the US dollar and how the world is about to change. Obviously, this won't happen overnight, but we need to brace ourselves for the future. At the same time, Ripple and XRP have strategically positioned themselves in the middle of today's world and the future. With enough investment in XRP, you could easily turn out to be the next millionaire in the future, despite the current case between the Ripple and the SEC. Before we get down to all the nitty-gritty, let's roll that intro. As always, welcome to Money Side, your favorite crypto channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you get updates when we drop new videos. Don't forget to smash that like button. And remember, you can always leave a comment or a question in the section below.
So John, taking that into consideration, I know that we recently saw Jeremy Hogan suggest that if there was going to be a settlement, he thought it might happen by the end of the year. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I read somewhere that 90% of all SEC cases end in a settlement. And if that's correct or not, but do you think that is where we end up, or do you think this thing is going to go to the judge? How do you think this thing ends up?
If there was going to be a settlement, it would be from within 90 days of when they were forced to turn over the documents. And so my timeline agrees with Jeremy Hogan in that sense. Ongoing and future sales of XRP by Ripple and in the secondary market are not secured. That if they don't get that, there's not a settlement. If they get that, there's a settlement within minutes. I mean, I'm paraphrasing Stuart Alderati, but he basically said, not to me, to the world, that a settlement happens very quickly if that happens. And if I'm advising Gary Gensler, I'm saying, look, these emails definitely are going to cause issue. We can seal all of this up right now in a settlement. Also, we're really going to lose, Gary. We're going to lose. Let's see if Ripple will pay, let's pick $100 million. Let's take that victory. We can narrow it and say that, each crypto is fact and circumstances. And just because XRP is not a security, that doesn't mean the others aren't. And we can still go after each other one. To me, I'd be in Gary's ear saying, you can get on TV, instead of talking about Kim Kardashian with $1.3 million, dude, you can get up there and say that you held this company responsible. This one of these big fintech companies. You got $100 million in addition to the $100 million you got from BlockFi. You're holding these companies accountable. You could just spin it politically. You can imagine all the spin masters. It would make us vomit, right? Personally, to hear him spin it into a victory, but he could.
At the end of the day, isn't the risk greater to them to let it go to a decision and lose than to have to do what you just said and settle and have to spin it? Because they're going to look like winners no matter what. And Ripple's going to write a check, and Ripple's going to, even when Ripple writes a check, they're going to know that they won as well. I mean, but would you agree that it's a greater risk for the SEC to run it to the end and lose?
Absolutely. And the only answer I can come up with is that he's pushed it this far because he needs a victory. And if he can get a victory, he can then say, look, I was right. These cryptos are securities. But that's why somebody has got to get into his head and his ear and make him pay attention to the fact that they're not going to win at summary judgment. The SEC, there's no way Judge Torres is going to grant them summary judgment based on the way they pled the case. The XRP affidavits that Ripple submitted, which is almost 3,000 affidavits that talk about non-investment use, not knowing who Ripple was when they acquired XRP, those are factual issues that a jury could decide. If they're going to go with this theory that every acquisition or purchase of XRP is a security, then that means there's no non-investment utility behind XRP. Well, we all know that's not true. So they're going to lose, and the best they can hope for is the judge says, well, we got to have a jury trial on certain issues. If you're a politician and you're giving a guaranteed victory, public victory, or your enforcement lawyers are saying there's like an 80 to 90% chance we're going to lose, Gary. What does the politician do, right? He takes the guaranteed political win. And so that what makes me think that it should say.
This case is designed for the SEC to lose, despite what the majority might think. And if, against all odds, the SEC wins, the whole crypto world is in trouble. That's because Gary Gensler, as he is known for, will brag about this case and use it as a publicity stunt to gain supporters and help him take down the whole crypto world. You heard right. Most people might think that this is conspiratorial, but that's not the case. Gensler is trying to make an example off of Ripple, and that's why he desperately needs this win. His desperation has obviously led to several mistakes along the line, which guarantee the win for Ripple. For instance, I don't think Gensler counted on the fact that Ripple and the whole XRP army was going to fight back. He thought that this case was going to be an easy win, which was his first mistake. The other thing Gensler did not expect was the backlash that this case has brought on his department, and didn't think that the whole crypto community would band together to defend one of their own. Clearly, there's a lot he needs to learn, especially if the SEC is going to be in charge of regulating the crypto world. Now, despite all of that, Ripple continues to flourish, and the rest of the world continues to support this crypto company. The US dollar is under attack, and if the government doesn't seize this unique opportunity to partner up with innovative companies like Ripple, the US dollar is going to lose. As we speak, in fact, Ripple just partnered with a new company in Europe. That means the European and Asian markets have fully embraced Ripple and are willing to work with this company. Is it that the US government is too cautious, or is there another hidden agenda? Because, let's be honest, do you want to tell me that the entire world except for the United States, is wrong about Ripple? That's truly insane. Something is obviously happening behind the curtains that we don't know about, and the U.S. regulatory body is too afraid to admit it. Here's another question. Is the regulatory body trying their best to bring down Ripple because they see this company as a competition to the U.S. dollar? If that's the case, then they are already too late to the party. Ripple is nearly unstoppable now.
Facebook is involved or not, change is here. Digital currencies exist. Blockchain technology is real. And Facebook's entry in this new world is just confirmation, albeit at scale. The world that Satoshi Nakamoto, author of the Bitcoin white paper, envisioned, and others are building, is an unstoppable force. We should not attempt to deter this innovation, and governments cannot stop this innovation. And those that have tried have already failed. So the question then becomes, what are American policymakers going to do to meet the challenges and the opportunities of this new world of innovation? Some politicians want us to live in a permission-based society where you need to come to government, ask for its blessing before you can begin to even think about innovating. Those are the politicians that would rather kill it before it grows. But there are others who believe in the vibrancy of American ingenuity, American innovation, that recognizes our economy is built off of generations of entrepreneurs and innovators through competition, through testing, through tinkering, through iterating, got us here today.
Or a Seagate or an Amazon or an Airbnb.
This is a historic wall of capital for the net zero transition around the world. What matters now is action to invest that capital in our low carbon future. To do that, investors need to have as much clarity and confidence in the climate impact of their investments as they do in the traditional financial metrics of profit and loss. So our third action is to rewire the entire global financial system for net zero. Better and more consistent climate data, sovereign green bonds, mandatory sustainability disclosures, proper climate risk surveillance, stronger global reporting standards. All things we need to deliver, and I'm proud that the UK is playing its part. Today, I'm announcing that the UK will go further and become the first ever net zero aligned financial centre.
Gary, are you there? Gary, are you a low risk kind of guy? Are you often on the move like me and have a need for speed? Are you tired of paying for that unnecessary friction? Do you have liquidity in your dating profile? Do you live by transparency? Do you prefer finality so you can sleep well at night? If you've answered yes like you often do, choose Ripple. Choose common sense. The choice is yours.
As always, do your own research and always trade safely, guys. Please keep in mind we're not a licensed financial advisor. All videos on this channel are intended for entertainment purposes only. You can always let us know what you think in the comment section below, and let's have a conversation. Thank you so very much for watching. Don't forget to like this video and please click on that subscribe button below and turn on notifications so you get informed whenever we post our amazing content. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next Money Side.